And here we are. Welcome, everybody, to the Night Owl Writers Room. I am, I keep forgetting to introduce myself. My name is Rich Hosick. I am a writer. I Just a little background on myself, catch you guys up. I lived in Hollywood for about 17, 18 years and wrote for television. Got the opportunity to do some scripts for some big shows like Fresh Prince of Bel Air, Star Trek Voyager. Was the head writer on the New Adams Family. Um, Wrote a bunch of other stuff, the cop shows and other kids shows and stuff like that. I think, all told, I got about 50 television writing credits. Um, Had a family, decided to move back to the Midwest, and then, I started writing novels and short stories, and, that's where I am right now. I, took my short story writing excuse me. Get out. Out. Go, out, go, back, out. Alright. That was embarrassing. I've got the puppy over tonight, and he was deciding that he needed to argue with the cat right now. All right. You can tell this is a live stream. I am not faking any of this stuff. All right. So, yeah, been writing novels and short stories. Actually, started writing short stories when I was in college, and it was just something I had done. Back then, we used to mail our stories to magazines with a self-addressed stamped envelope and wait for weeks for to hear what was went on, get a rejection, get acceptance. I sold one story for $100 to a science fiction magazine, and that's when I decided to, like, you know what? I'm gonna take this computer engineering degree and I am gonna put it aside and I'm gonna try this writing thing out. So I spent a year taking some screenwriting courses at Columbia College in Chicago. But my friend who I'd been making some student films with at the University of Illinois was out in California. He says, Come on out." So packed up the car, moved to California, got a job on a TV show, and from there was able to work my way up to writer's assistant. Got a chance to do some scripts. Got the job as the head writers on the New Adams Family, and um, it was a blast. Uh, Writing for a TV show is, yeah, it's as cool as it sounds. And if you ever have the chance to do it, or if you know somebody who does it, pick their brains because there's a lot to learn from that. It is a man, it is a um, great experience for a writer because especially on a show like the New Adams Family. If you don't know what the New Adams Family is, I don't blame you because it hasn't been on the air in the United States in 20 years probably. It was on at the time the Fox Family Channel, and they sold it to ABC, became the ABC Family Channel. Now I think it's like something like Freeform or something, and they just put the show aside. It was like their highest rated show, and it's gone. You can still find bootleg episodes on YouTube though, so if you are curious about it, look check out the New Adams Family. Just search YouTube, you'll find some people have playlists with the whole run, 65 episodes. Um, Arnold Runnick and I, my writing partner, we were the head writers for the last half of the run of the show. They didn't really do seasons. They just did like 65 episodes in a row. An interesting story why. So the idea behind doing the New Adams Family was that they were going to, instead of hiring writers to just come up with new episodes, they bought the rights to all the old scripts from the original Adams Family and just said, "Okay, we're just gonna have a writer just kind of like punch it up a little bit and for the new day for a new decade and do that." Unfortunately, that did not work. Um, Shows, especially kids shows of that format, which it was kind of aimed at more of a kids audience rather than a primetime audience, are vastly different than they were back in the 60s. So in the 60s, you'd have like maybe 4 or 5 scenes. a lot of long set pieces, a lot of highbrow comedy in there. For us, we had to do a lot of shorter scenes, a lot of stunts, a lot of physical comedy, and so we ended up doing major rewrites on the scripts we kept. And towards the end, after we had sort of exhausted the stories that could be easily translated into a new version, we then started taking the titles and just saying, "Okay, this is, gonna be The Tale of Long John Adams." And we came up with a completely original story, but we still had to pretend that we were rewriting one of the old stories. So that was an interesting thing. So anyway, they had 64 episodes, in the bank, so to speak, that they basically were hiring us to rewrite, not write, because there's a lower fee for rewriting something. And then, but there was a pilot that was really written by a couple of guys. I'm forgetting their names right now, but they actually hired us to do some scripts for some other series that they were doing. It's still running in Canada. Canada gets to see the new Adams Family, but we do not. So, if you are interested, check it out on YouTube. And but it is what it is. It was truly a great experience. The cast is, members are still friends to this day. Although sadly, Uncle Fester passed away several years ago. And but that's all to the point of like that's who I am. I am a writer. I was a working television writer. I am a novelist. Uh, I've published 3 novels. I've written 5. So I've got a couple more coming out soon. I've written a ton of short stories for the podcast right now. I think I've got 68 stories up there. About 5 or 8 of them are by other authors. I've got yeah, probably like 6 or 7. 6 or 7 are by outside authors. Always looking for other writers. If you've got a story that's around 3,000 words with a twist, hit me up on Twitter, X. Hit me up on X, and let's talk about it. Or put your name in the comments here, anything like that, and we will see if we can work something out. I've got a story from a guest writer, Jody J. Sperling, coming out probably this weekend. Just been having trouble finding time to get the final elements put together. And also, what I'm doing too is I'm going to be doing an interview with him, which I've done. And I'll put that out as a podcast episode as well, and I'll put that on the YouTube channel. And if you do write for my podcast, you will get a credit on IMDb, as IMDb does podcasts now. So I'll put my podcast bedtime stories for insomniacs on there. And so if you would like to have your name on IMDb, here you go. Here's your chance. All right. So that's who I am. So from now on, I will just introduce myself as your host, Rich Hosek. And I was considering calling myself the head writer of the writers' room, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want to take that mantle right now. All right. The thing I want to talk about tonight is last night we saw me sign up for NaNoWriMo, which is a National Novel Writing Month, um, sort of like an event that's held every November. They've since expanded to other times during the year, and then they've got these little shorter camps and stuff like that. And I had done it in the past, and made some progress on some books. And I said, this year I'm going to do it. I've got this book. It's about 50,000 words long. I need to write. Should be able to get it through. And then I was getting on the site and I noticed it was like really dead. There's like not much going on here. There was some forums and stuff here that were not part of what I was looking for. There's nothing going on, no activity. The last activity was like 6, 7, 8 months old. I'm like, going, what's going on here? I signed up, put my novel on there, um, talked to some other, said, invited people to come sign up and be my buddy on the site. But yeah, it turns out not so much. It apparently there were scandals involved in NaNoWriMo in terms of sexual abuse scandals for minors, and also a big conflict over using AI tools. So a lot of people have been turned off by NaNoWriMo. I am obviously not wanting to be associated with either of those 2 things. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna just step away from it. If they clean up their act and, do some, whatever they need to do to sort of fix things up there, get people back, um, get some credibility back with their writers, maybe. But there are other places out there that do similar things. Hopefully one of them will blow up and become as popular as this was, and we'll be able to move on from there. But NaNoWriMo, I am no longer doing NaNoWriMo this November. Take it away, and away we go. Now, I did was reached out to by this account on X, XK and Day, who is hosting a. Let's see if we got it here. Who's hosting a forum for a similar type of thing here, and it's all forum based here, so they don't have the software and everything like that. And you can see a lot of different forums here. This kind of reminds me like a Discord style thing here too. Um, so if that's a format that you're conducive to, doesn't look like there's a lot of activity here yet, but looks like that just kind of got started in early September too. So um, check it out. XKNday, that's EXKAYENDAY on X. And yeah, there's a reason why it's called this. If you click on the name, or if you go to their homepage here, you'll see like a little basic uh, text page that explains what the whole deal is there. And yeah, they basically it's like saying how many thousand words in how many days. So XK and N day, right? So X and K are variables, or N, X and N are variables, and away we go. So that is one of the things sites here, but they also gave me a lot of information about a couple links to some videos explaining the NaNoWriMo abuse. So I thought I would save this for watching this when you guys were here. Where'd it go? Here it is. So we're gonna watch this video together. I'll I guess I'm doing reaction videos now. Okay. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But let's take a look at this. This is from an account on TikTok, which I am not a member of. Who is this on TikTok? How do you know who this is? Oh, Rebecca Thorne. So Rebecca Thorne. I need to scroll down a little bit. Um, Doing so hot. I'm grateful for the board of directors taking swift action. Politics so respond. It's time to change your password to email. Check your kids if you've been on these forums. Okay. So let's listen to what she has to say about this. This is a 5-minute video. And then I see she's like another one here. We'll find out what's up there. Okay. Rebecca, take it away. Or or just delete your account. That's what I did. I just, you know what? If it does come back, I will go ahead and sign up again. But I just deleted my account. I said, you know what? Let's just be safe rather than sorry. By the way, I'm not impressed by the website. I went back there, I've been there in the last couple of years, and it's I just not a fan of the work that they did. As a web developer, I can tell you that it would needs a lot of work if they're gonna come back. In fact, if they're gonna do anything, what I would do is just shut it down for as long as it takes to just build a brand new website, get some new branding, get new logos, get maybe even just call it something else, um, and then start over because there really is no point in keeping the same look and feel for something that is tainted like that. So that's my advice. Yeah, agree. Again, just delete your account. Just delete it. You can always go back and sign up. Uh, Information that's on there is not going to be life changing stuff if you lose it. It's just progress you had on novels, projects that you set up, all that kind of chats and forums and so forth. Who cares? This is more important. Just delete your account. All right, so that was her first video here. Let me turn that off. And I've got another one here. It says I have more thoughts about NaNoWriMo. Let's check that one out. Ah, okay. I did see a post on the literature and latte forums about NaNoWriMo. I would be in favor of somebody like that taking over the NaNoWriMo thing here. Um, they are, if you don't use Scrivener, I highly recommend it. You've seen me use it. Um, but that's interesting. Let's hear what Musk has to say. So here's the thing. Like she mentioned before, this was like I had no idea this was going on. This was I'm on the writer forums, the writing community on X all the time, a couple groups in Facebook. I had not caught any whiff of anything going wrong with NaNoWriMo. Of course, I would only do the November stuff, and I wasn't very active on it. But still, um, I'm not going to judge these companies for continuing sponsorship because it's probably on like on autopilot. It's like, oh, another let's write another check to NaNoWriMo because if they're not companies aren't doing that. They're not gonna be, like, digging into, the daily accounts here and saying, "Okay, any scandals with this one? Okay. Oh, any scandals here today? How about today? How about" No, it's not gonna happen that way. Hopefully, they have been in contact with the board of directors. They know what's going on. They've been probably given some assurances, and, the fact that, they're sticking with it is interesting. I gotta say that, but, um it's one of those baby with the bathwater types of things. So, personally, I'm making the decision not to be associated with them this year. I will check back next year, see what's going on. If, Scrivener does indeed get involved, that would give me reason to give it another look, but, we'll see what happens here 'cause I really can't blame them too much for not knowing about something that was really, really under the radar for a long time. Yeah. Um, one of them I think is grammar checking too. One of the other sponsors was Pro Writing Aid, which I also use, um, to flag grammar stuff for me. It's it saves me a lot of time. I don't need to rely as much on an editor if I can catch that stuff early, if it's being flagged in my document. Um, but she's talking about research questions for AI. That I would not trust. Would not trust researching with AI. I would trust AI to do a cursory flagging of potential grammar things, but then I'm also going to, if it doesn't look right to me, I'm going to follow up on that and just not take its word for it. Some people who use Pro Writing Aid just say, "Yeah, accept all," and you have no idea what's going on with that. That AI is not that smart. Artificial intelligence, it's more like artificial averageness. It's not that intelligent, but, it is useful for some things. Research, I wouldn't trust it for research. I've just seen too many examples of where its responses are either biased or just uninformed or using sources that it is not independently verifying. It's just there's too many different crazy things out there on the internet that's been trained on to trust it fully. So, always do your own research. Um, but I'm gonna still keep trying out the grammar checking tools, spell checking tools, and stuff like that, just to sort of improve my. It helps me understand my understanding of grammar too, because I still learn a lot of stuff. I still am reinforcing things. I have a lot of bad habits built up over years that I still struggle with. So let's see here. So that's the other scandal here, that NaNoWriMo apparently was allowing the use of AI as a, accessibility tool, but to what degree? Who's policing whether they're using the generative aspect of it or just transcribing? Because using AI to transcribe stuff, that's awesome. It's so much better than the old tools. I used one years ago called Dragon Dictate, which was you had to train it to your voice. You had to speak in a very specific manner. You had to like do certain keywords for punctuation. I tried it thinking it would help me write a little bit faster. Didn't work. I just learned how to type faster instead. Um, so you've got that going. So the using it for transcription, yes, another thing I'm in favor of using AI for. But you don't know if it's just solely being used for transcription or if it's being asked to generate content. And so that is something that is kind of a little bit tricky too, right? Or you write an outline and you feed it to the AI and say, okay, well, I'll write this into a novel. Where does that end? I am I am I'm in computers. I've been working with computers all my life, since there have been well, not all my life, since there have been computers to work with. And the artificial intelligence thing is here. It's coming. It's going to be big. It's going to be a huge wave. But as we're learning, it is not the the panacea of solutions. It is not going to take away jobs because companies who rely 100% on AI for certain things are going to find out that the AI is just just doesn't care. It doesn't care. It will make mistakes. It'll just say, "Oh, okay, yeah, guess I was wrong on that one. All right." You can't fire it. You can't threaten it. All you can do is hope that it gets it right and that it doesn't affect you negatively. All right, enough of my rant on AI. All right. So I agree with her on some things. I don't agree on other things. I do agree that um, current state of NaNoWriMo needs to be trashed. I don't agree that Scrivener or Literature and Latte should abandon it. I think that they can. There is a path to reclaim it, and if anyone can do it, I would think someone who has been in that novel writing space, who has the tools to support that kind of thing, is has the best chance of succeeding at that. So I understand their position that she read about that. It's why should we why don't we use our leverage? Why don't we use our power? Why don't we use our funding to fix it instead of just throwing it away? Good argument. I kind of agree with that. I think that there's a possibility there. Whether or not they can pull it off, we'll see. But I'm willing to give them a chance. If they're willing to put the money where their mouth is, if they're like willing to say, "Hey, I think we can save this. I think we can make something. I think we can salvage something from here." But you've got to get rid of the old website. You've got to get rid of the old structure. You got to distance yourself from all that stuff. So if you like did it as like, rebranded it as Scrivener's Novel Writing Month or something like that, do something like that. Change the name. I think that's key because as long as it's NaNoWriMo, I think that you're going to have people like Rebecca who are just going to like, sorry, you hurt kids. Not going to have anything to do with you. And I respect that. I understand it. I support her decision completely. So we'll see how this shakes out. But my point is I am not going to be doing NaNoWriMo, but I am still going to be doing a live stream of writing my novel Spy You. Only I'm not going to be doing it in November. As if you were listening last the other night, I basically was explaining how November is tight. I've got the big Miami book fair coming up. Then I've got another book fair in Minneapolis. It's Thanksgiving. So trying to squeeze a whole month of novel writing into November has always been tough. I always felt like November was like a crappy month for it. I really did. December is even worse. December, you've got the Christmas holidays, you're shopping, you're planning. It's just the worst time for it. You know what the best month would be for a National Novel Writing Month? January. January is the best month, and I'll tell you why. Everyone's making their resolutions. How many of us have made resolutions? I'm going to write that book this year. Huh? I mean, it's like probably number in the top 10 of resolutions that people make. I'm going to write that book this year. And if you had like a National Novel Writing Month type of situation in January where you could say, hey, January, holidays are done, things are packed up, New Year's is over, wake up January 1st, hopefully without a hangover, and you say, okay, this is the day I'm going to get started on this. This is the day I am going to make start my novel. And you've got that day off, right? Most people have that day off from work, so it's a good day to get started. And that's what I'm going to be doing. So starting January 1st, I'm going to live stream every minute of writing my novel Spy You, and that's SPY and the letter U as in Spy University. And sorry, my puppy is being very naughty here. I am gonna go kill him in a minute. No, I'm not. I love my dog. Um. Anyway, so that is my plan. So I'm gonna push it off to January, and there's another reason for that too. I've got another novel called The 10th Ride that I need to finish up this month. I've got to get that done. It is written. I'm doing a final draft. I'm planning on writing some new chapters and trimming out some stuff from the beginning. So there's a lot of work in there. I'll probably be doing a lot of that work here on this podcast. So you'll see me live streaming some work on that novel. Not the whole thing. There'll be some time when I just need to sort of sit with a printout of that book and my red pen and go to town on it. So that needs to be done by the end of this month. Then October, November, December, I need to finish up the third novel in my Rainy and Day Investigations mystery paranormal mystery series. It's called Farsight, and I'm in the middle of doing some research for that. So I've got the story laid out. I've got everything in there. I just need to sort of do some research with some people involved with remote viewing and get that locked in, get those details sort of meshing with my plot so that I don't step too far out of bounds. Because the whole point of these Rainy and Day books is that uh, the paranormal mysteries, we don't write Ghostbusters. We don't write um, Poltergeist. We don't write sensationalized paranormal stuff. We try to keep it within the realm of what working parapsychologists like my co-author Lloyd Auerbach see, have experienced, can document, can attribute. In the case of the subject matter of this next novel, Farsight, remote viewing, there is a lot of documentation. There is a lot of evidence. There's a lot of research that has been done on that topic. The U.S. government, for decades, was using remote viewing to gather intelligence, and so it's a really interesting topic. I think we've got a really great story to go with it. It ties together some elements of the first two books of the series. Although I'll say all of these books are standalone in that series, but there are some elements that carry over, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be taking care of that and see what's going on. Um, the other thing I'm going to be doing, let's see. Oh, so yeah, so that's the other book. So that book needs to be done by the end of the year. I need to have that book ready to publish by December 31st. Then I'm going to do Spy You. Spy You, it's going to take me a month, and then another month after that to get it ready to publish. And then I don't know how many. I probably do a Spy You once a year. Like I said, there's going to be at least 4 books because it is set in a university. You got your freshman through senior years. So, 4-year degree in spying, probably then some graduate work afterwards. But I'm going to do one of those a year. Um, and I've got plans for, getting some character art done for that, uh, and making it really, sort of a very interesting kind of a series. I think it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna do well at the cons that I go to, the comic book conventions. Because right now I'm going there, I'm selling my thrillers, selling my mysteries. I do well with that stuff. I've got my new mini books for the podcast. If you guys haven't seen that yet, I've got these little 3-story booklets that are a pocket full of fairy tales for insomniacs. So these are all stories from my podcast, Bedtime Stories for Insomniacs. About 50 pages long, 3 stories. And I also throw in some, advertisements for the podcast and my other books in there. And it also has each story has a link to the podcast through a QR code, so you can listen to the story, listen to me read it if you like. So when people buy this, it's kind of like, hey, they can plop down $5 and support me. They get a free copy of my audiobook. And also they can buy my anthology or whatever. So it's just a way of sort of promoting this because the podcast is what I am sort of like betting the farm on. I'll be honest with you guys. I see writers up and down Facebook and X out there going the traditional route, going the independent route. I see some succeed. I see some fail. I see, but I don't see a lot of people taking up the fiction podcast route. I think that's a lane that is wide open, that where there is opportunity to grab and hold an audience. So over the last coming up on 3 years now, I've been able to grow it fairly well. And I'm getting close to having, like 2,000 downloads a month, which is pretty good for a starting podcast. Over 3 years, it's still growing. Yeah, the key is not to, let it start dropping, right? As long as I see growth month over month, year after over year, I'm on the right track. Now, there are a couple of promotional things I'm going to be doing that are I hope will expand things. For example, anyone who signs up for my mailing list will get a free copy of the audiobook. I'll be sharing details with you guys soon in case you're interested in that. Also, like I mentioned too, I am bringing in guest authors now. So if you want to get your story narrated and produced by me and out on a podcast where hundreds of people, thousands of people will listen to it, this is your chance. I give you an opportunity to promote any books that you have as well. We'll throw a 30-second to a 1 minute commercial in every episode on my playlist for a month. So that is something that I offer, and I pay you for the story too. I pay you $30 for the story. I pay you additional $20 if I ever put it into an anthology. I put you on imdb.com. I give you an ad on my podcast for a month, free ad, and what else? And you get your story. You have this now an audio story. You can download it. You can share it with your readers. You can make it a premium for your own mailing list. Whatever you want to do with it. Why am I doing this? One, um, I'm hoping that bringing other authors in will expand my reach, right? Because if I bring you in and you've got a mailing list, even if it's just a few hundred people, and you send out to your mailing list, hey, my story's on this podcast. Some of those people may stick. They may become bedtime stories for Insomniacs fans, and we all win. Um, so that's one thing. The other thing is I'm expanding my network of writer friends, right? This is something that I've has been slow. I mean, I have a handful of really good friends from X. Of course, my old writer friends from Hollywood as well. But it's something that I enjoy doing, and the other part of it is that I am also working on my narration skills. Right, one of the things I hope to do in the future is do more audiobook reading. I If you've been listening on the podcast or if you tune into my podcast right now, you will see that there is a novel called A Really Good Day that I've been reading. It was written by my brother. It's a really fun book. If you play golf or know somebody in your life who plays golf or anything like that, you'll love it. It's just a really cool, feel good sports fantasy, as I like to call it. So it's really good. But anyway, it was 130,000 words. So I had to narrate it. A couple things in it I would change, but I'm getting better. So as I do more and more stories, as I do more of my own stories, I do other people's stories. I've also narrated an audiobook for Barbara Avon, if you guys have seen her on X, All Eyes Motel. I'm hopefully going to be doing her sequel to that, The Lover's Retreat. And she's also got a graphic novel coming out soon based on her other, it's kind of like an Owl Eyes adjacent novel called Speed Bump, or is a novella called Speed Bump. And so I'm going to approach her, see if she'll let me narrate that as well. So that's not to say that I want to be flooded with requests for narrating audiobooks. At some point in the future, yes, I will be offering people the chance to have their book read by me for free. Very, very limited number of people. And then as we go, as I feel more confident, as I feel like that I am delivering value to you guys, and listen, I feel like I'm doing it, but I I am an unproven commodity in this arena, right? I have won awards for my podcast, um, and people who I've gotten some great reviews online and stuff like that. But I'm new to it. I've only been narrating stuff for a few years, and the people who really excel at it have been doing it for decades. So I feel like I need another year or so of practice to really sort of get my groove on in that lane. And so that's what I'm working towards. So at some point in the future, yeah, if you have a book that you think I would be a good narrator for, we'll open that up and you'll hit me up and we'll see if we what we can do. So though at some point I'll do a couple books for free and then I'll do a couple books at a certain introductory rate and then a higher rate until I get up into that tier where I'm a professional narrator. But I don't want to just do it and like charge people like $400 per produced hour and say, here you go, and you not be happy with it, right? I to don't want to just go out there and say, yeah, I'm worth this much money now, because I don't think that that's how that should work. I think that you should have to pay your dues. It's like being an actor, like being a writer. You don't just, well, some people some people do get that huge advance for their first book. But most of us, we start off writing stories with like write for comp copies and almost nothing. Some people pay to get their stories published. But narrating is something that you really need a lot of practice. I believe that with everything, writing, narrating, podcasting, all this stuff comes with practice. If you listen to some of my early podcast episodes and you listen to my later ones, you'll see the growth I've made, the evolution, the increase in production values that I've added to this. So it really becomes a matter of like, okay, what am I doing here? What am my range of voices do I have? What accents can I do? All of those different aspects are things that I am developing, and I'm going to be asking some of you to contribute your work to help me develop that. But I'm not going to ask you to pay for me to help develop it. I'm going to say, let's collaborate on this. So let's collaborate on this, and then once I get to that point, okay, now I'm going to collaborate with you, but I'm going to do it at a reduced rate. I'm not going to charge you $400 for a produced hour. I'll charge you $50 for a produced hour. How's that sound? So for a typical book that's 8 hours long, you pay me $400. Way, way below the market rate, way, way below the cost of my time, but it takes you to that professional level. And as I do that, as I charge more and more for each one, it's like, an actor, right? When he does a job on a TV show, he's working at scale. And then as he gets more famous, he gets better, he can say, okay, I want scale plus, and then I want, the $1 million deals and all that kind of stuff. So that is my goal with that, is to sort of, in addition to writing my own books, spend a certain amount of time each month narrating a book for somebody else. I think it will improve my podcast. I think it will improve my presence on Audible and other audiobook sites. And I think it will be a great opportunity for me to grow and experience and just enjoy other people's works, because that's the other part of it too. Is like, um, when I did Barbara Avon's book, I read it and it was just like it was a really fun collection of psychological horror stories, and it was short. And I said, you know what, these actually, some of these would be really good for the podcast. And I asked her, said, can I use some of these stories for the podcast? She said, sure, go ahead, give it a try. And as I was going through the book, I said, well, let me record all of them and see how it turns, see which ones turn out. And so I accidentally recorded my first audiobook for someone else. And I said to her, hey, listen, I want to use these stories here, but I went ahead and recorded the whole book. Here it is if you want to put it on Audible. And so you can get that book on Audible, All Eyes Motel. Um, and it's only 2 hours long, so I think it's pretty cheap there. But check it out. Um, it's like I said, it's in the psychological horror genre, which I love. Love to read that. Um, as you listen to my podcast, there's a lot of humor stuff I love to read as well. Science fiction, fantasy, mystery. So all of those genres I like to do. I'm also willing to do nonfiction too. If you have a nonfiction book that you want to have an audio edition for, hit me up. I might be able to do it for you. But again, I'll keep you posted on that. I'll be posting on Twitter and so forth. Twitter. I keep calling it Twitter. I'm like, most of the time I'm always an X guy. I like even have a shortcut on my keyboard now where it does the X logo. Anyway, so there we go. All right, so here we are. We are going to be doing what I'm going to be calling Write a Book January. So we'll workshop that name. But right now it's Write a Book January. Rye Ribojan, Ribojan. I don't know. It's really bad. If anybody has a better idea for Write a Book January, let me know in the comments. Let me know on X, and we'll workshop that. Yeah, I have to admit, when I heard about all this NaNoWriMo stuff, I thought, "Oh, I could write that website because that's what I do with my day job, right?" But I'm not going to. I am not going to do that. I have got my own websites that I'm sorely need my attention. I've got other projects that sorely need my attention. I've got novels that sorely need my attention. I've got a podcast that sorely needs my attention. I've got a day job that I need to go to. I've got a night job that I need to do. And then now I've got a live stream that I have to do every night. So um, it's I've got to say no to building my own Write a Book January site. But I am sticking by the fact that January is a perfect month to write a book in. Perfect month. We've even got, I think there's a federal holiday in the middle of January too. So you got like all this time, and it's a 31-day month. November is only 30 days. January's got 31. Got that extra day. So I hope you'll join me for that. In the meantime, yeah, I'm going to be. I was hoping to have that story by Jody up today, but to be honest with you, I've got a book show to get to. I have to leave here at about 6 in the morning to get to Rockford in time. I've got to get up early, feed the dogs, take them to grandma's house. I need to, um, got the car loaded. That's all set, all ready to go there. Um, what else do I need to do? I need to, yeah, that's going to be all day. That's going to be an all day thing. I'll be out in Rockford. I'll be posting stuff on X and Facebook if you want to see what's going on there. Oh, let me show you the stuff that I did. I was going to show this to you. All right, so a few days ago, I was talking about how I was going to change my signage for this, and so this is the new stand-up sign for this here. You can see I can get the reflection out of there. But over here, got a lot of reflection going on there. There we go. Okay, so basically, what I got here is you know what? So that's that. And then I created a couple other new signs here. This is my co-author, Lloyd Auerbach, who is a parapsychologist. He is known at these paranormal conventions. So hoping to play off of that. And then if you've been to my Rainy and Day website, this is the door that greets you there. And I made a big sign for that with the pricing on it. So those are the three big signs I'm going to be using. Let me actually share my screen again here so I can show you what I'm talking about. I actually had this all set up to show you. So here we go. So this is the large signs that I've made for this particular show. So I've got these three here, basically. So I've got the Scooby-Doo meets the X-Files sign here. I've got the Rainy Day Investigations door with the detective door here. Kind of like a traditional thing, like the old black and white film noir movies with the detectives. And then I added this one, inspired by the life and work of Lloyd Auerbach, Rainy Day Investigations. So I've got those three big signs to put on there. Now I also did these signs big too, the bedtime stories and the this one here, but I only have three large holders. So what I did to accommodate that is I also made 8.5 by 11 versions of a bunch of these signs. So this is the what would you do sign that we talked about the other day when thing here, and I made this big price sign here where, bam, there's the price, man. Before, my pricing signs were like a lot of text, a little bit of color, awful. I was like, let's make something that people are going to be like seeing here. It's like only $15. Yeah, I'll buy that book for $15. Oh, I have to buy two or more. Okay, no problem. And then I also did this too. I took the back of the book and made like a 3D version. I showed you how to do the 3D covers. And these I'm going to put up like in the stands and put them on top of the book so that people can see them without having to pick up the book if they wanted to. They could just come by and multiple people could look at them then. And it's a little bit bigger than the book too, so, right? So the books are 9 inches tall, and here they're about 10 inches tall. And then here's my free audiobook sign. That one's gonna have its own thing, and then here is the 8.5 version of the bedtime stories for Insomniacs Fiction podcast with the QR code cleverly embedded in the logo. This is I know this is the same logo I'm using for the Night Owl Riders. I did mean to do a new logo for this. I will I will get a new logo out for this at some point. I think you'll like it. It's based on this, and you'll see what I mean when I get there. But there we go. So I've got those signs, and so the other ones I had printed professionally at Kinko's. I was talking about the other day. They got weird hours. They only open till 7. And these other ones here I like printed at used an inkjet printer. I was able to borrow from a friend. And you can see that didn't come out that well. Some breakup in the color. So I'll probably get these reprinted at Kinko's. Um, they do nice color laser printing, so it's a little bit more concise. But the thing you'll notice too, maybe I can show it to you here, is this one here, right? Let me see if I can get this in the camera here at a good angle. I want you to take a look at the colors. You see how that green is kind of washed out? Whereas on the other ones, it's not. Here you can see it's very bright and vivid here. That's a remnant of the CMYK printing process, which I don't understand how to fix. I honestly don't know what to do there. It just kind of like, I mean, the yellows come out nice and bright, but reds kind of look kind of washed out, orange and pinky. Like here, you can see this on this one, right? This is not a red, even though it's I, graphically it's red when I defined it. So I'll work on that. If anyone is a CMYK expert, want to give me some advice on that, I'll take it. All right, so that is that. What else we got here? I think that's enough. We've bumped up to the hour here. So we talked a lot about NaNoWriMo. We watched a couple of videos on that. That's the dog. Okay. I gotta go take care of the dog too. All right, so we're gonna call it a night now. I will be back tomorrow night with an autopsy on my Paranormal Conference book show selling adventures. Let you know how I did, what worked, what didn't work, and then we will continue with more podcast story writing, and then we'll also be working on my novel, The 10th Ride. And if you guys have anything you want to add, if you want to have anything you want to discuss, please reach out to me. I'd love to have you on the stream. All right. Good night.